Hello everyone, Jess here again. I'm here today to actually have a bit of a lecture about weightlifting, and most is actually positive stuff because I want to promote the sport a bit more than it has been in the past, and it's been, associated with a lot of, negative, aspects of it. Anyway, we should just go into it now. Anyway, so this is my PowerPoint here. So this is weightlifting. And as I said, do not listen to all the myths. Stay put and get knowledge. I mean, knowledge is the key to everything. If you're just going to listen to what everybody else is saying, I mean, what kind of life is that? I mean, at the end of the day, just make your own mind up before you just listen to what everyone else is saying, okay? So next slide here, it's why weightlifting? It gives you one of the best high intensity workouts ever, which kind of means, if you don't want to compete in it, because not everybody does, it gives you such, power. With that, I mean, when you're actually executing it, you have high intensities, which means you don't have to have, you don't have to have done that many reps. You can do a lot of sets, but not so many reps per lift and the weight that you actually need to lift. But with that said, if you're kind of thinking at the start, oh my God, like I did, but that's just not that much. How am I supposed to, feel that I've trained after that? It's not like I'm doing a sprint run or anything. But God, I got quite surprised. You get quite puffed and quite tired after those three, because basically what you're doing, you're actually increasing the weight per, set as you go. So that's why it's called high intensity with like short intervals. Okay, so we just go on to next point. You will become more agile, fast, and have way much better timing, which means weightlifting is not only just lifting the weight like the powerlifters do, like a deadlift. It's not just up and down. It's actually like a type of deadlift, but you actually have to shrug and get up on your toes, and on top of that, you have to get under it, you have to catch it when you get up, then you have to jerk it on top of your head. Not an easy task at all, because often the clean is very heavy when you actually do compete, for an example, or if you're going to go on a more heavy session, then you find that you get quite puffed and tired when you just clean that, and then you just have to get it like on top of your head, but you're supposed to be doing it with right technique. So that's why, I mean, agile, I mean, you get into angles like, a deeper sort of sit, which means like, it's like a deep squat. That's what I'm talking about. Fast, of course, you have to actually, put some speed onto the bar to actually pull it and get underneath, because without speed and pull, you're not going to get under it at all. And what do I write here as well? Better timing. Of course, you have to have timing. You can't just pull the bar up into the air and then expect it to come by itself. No, it's just so much more with rotating elbows and everything else. And the best thing is with weightlifting that you can actually utilize all the power that you actually train with weightlifting and get with lots of other sports, and you can combine it very good as well. And that's why you're going to become better and at it as well. I mean, your own sport, or if you just do weightlifting, of course, you're going to get better, Next point, it takes a lot of fitness to become a world-class lifter, though. It's just not a walk in the park in that sense. Like, you have to train at least 2 sessions a day and several of hours. It's not like what you think it is. Or weightlifting is just going to go on for 1 hour, then the testosterone is down in your body, and that's not point after that. No, it's not like that. You can actually, you have to learn to train with low testosterone level in your body as well. And there's different theories about that. I know about that as well. A lot of coaches, they speak for not more than 1.5 hours. I speak for more, but that's another thing. I kind of felt that actually what I responded to when I became the national champion, the Nordic champion. So, I know it does work. It just takes a lot of commitment and dedication. And up here, of course, your mentality, it's about, 95%, even more, when it comes to that level. And and it takes a lot of fitness because yeah, that's what I just read. It's one of the best workouts for those who really grind themselves into doing cardio, such as in running, cycling, and even power walking. I mean, I'm not a big fan of running, like, long distance. No, I'm not. And in the past, there was not that much for exposure people to actually like associate with getting into shape. You just had to do your cardio, which means I'll go out and run for 1 hour, 40 minutes or so. But in reality, our running economy is not really like the best for that. We're explosive, so we get tired within a minute's time. To be honest, it just might seem very bad, but it's not. I mean, basically, when you do a weight lift, you actually get your pulse up and your rate gets up all the way and shoots up the roof. And it's not that many who can actually get up to that high maximum pulse either. So, and that's what's going to get you going. And when you just, rest in between your sets, then after a while, you kind of notice that you actually will get fitter and your pulse goes down much quicker. In that way, you actually ready to go for the next lift. And that's how it works. Everyone can do weightlifting based on their own capacity and still get a lot of use from it in their own sport. That's what I mentioned before. I mean, if you're lean and slim, you might be a distance runner, but it's still going to do good to do the weightlifting. And I'm going to tell you why when we come by later here. We move forward. Also, like, it depends on what you weigh. So it's different weight classes that you compete in. And in that way, it doesn't become as competitive as other sports in that sense. Of course, you have to compete with those in your weight group. And yeah, they are a hell of a good, competitors, especially when you come to a certain level. It is. It's the ultimate strength training that gets onto a great shape too. What I mean with great shape, I mean, your body gets in shape. You get a full body workout straight through. And it engages all the muscles and even the small stabilizers, because that's what it takes to actually hold the angles. It's not just to press it. You can't press it. If you press a weight on top of your head or military press, that's not even a lift. It's not a legal lift. Anyways, we just go to the next slide. Here, a bit of explanation about weightlifting. What do weightlifting do? And I'm just going to go through all the points here first. Why weightlifting in front of normal gym training? Weightlifting gives you better posture. Weightlifting makes you fit. No, you do not stop growing. You do not destroy your knees. It's just so many like misconceptions around this with weightlifting, and I just don't understand why it got this unserved, reputation around itself. Like, today is just so much worse sports that you can do, and of course, weightlifting. With weightlifting, it takes a lot of control and good coaching with it as well. Because obviously you put a lot of intensity on your body. It's not only lifting your own body. That's why it's really important to stay focused and, have great body control and posture and so on. Weightlifting actually makes us, stronger, obviously. It makes us more agile, like I said before, get greater timing, and we get more powerful. In that sense, we become more dynamic, and we can actually use it in our other sports as well. So for that reason, you have to actually, and you might have an athlete saying like, okay, I'm a sprinter. When I'm going onto the blocks, or when I just run, I never come into this like deep angles, like the deep squats, for an example, to make you understand it better. No, it's not a bad ad. It's sometimes actually you have to actually train your body around what you're doing, so you get stabilizing muscles as well. You have to be fit all through. And if you can teach the brain to actually do something quick, like you're exploding from the start blocks in a sprint race, then weightlifting can actually help you with that power, believe it or not. It's not really rocket science. It just is, and it's an ancient old sport as well. So, and it builds a lot of technique also, but you can also, of course, think that, you've got to be very strong. I mean, as you see here in the pictures, the Indian girl, I think she's in the 52 division. She's also been in the 49 division as well. And, she's quite small and she lifts so much. women tend to have better technique. That's why we can master the weights better in that sense, but men tends to actually muscle it up a little bit better. But in terms of technique, you should actually watch the smaller weight lifters, even including the men, not the bigger ones. Like, you know, if you come over like 93, then it's just about time to stop watching, because they are not in good shape at all. I would just say, and even like 75 plus for women, 75 plus for women, that kind of weight we have there, class category, they don't do more than the 53 category or 52 category division nowadays. I was in 53, so now they changed it. They don't do more than that. Okay. Like I said, it makes you damn fit. You just have to be, I mean, if you look at the picture here, down below the 04 here number, you could see she's catching it like that. I mean, to actually sit in an angle like that, I mean, that takes a lot of strength, a lot of balance for that matter as well. And a lot of people can't actually catch the ball like that with those kind of straight, you know, arms. I mean, the elbows are all locked out. And that just takes a lot of strength for the legs to actually hold the body up like it does, and you know, just hold a good posture with the back. Like, as you can see, obviously she hasn't lifted with her back, which is important. Like I said, why weightlifting in front of a normal gym? Because it's more like, you know, with gym training, it's not as dynamic. If you stand in a machine, you do quads or whatever you do, it's not as dynamic. It's not nowhere near. I mean, you actually engage all the muscles in clean and jerk and in a snatch, but and in pulls and squats, but you don't actually kind of do that if you just stand and do biceps curls, and you even do like pull downs for, you know, and lats and stuff. That doesn't engage as near as much as it does when you do weightlifting. And I know it scares a lot of you know, athletes up when it comes to the technique, because it's quite, you know, of a complicated and complex technique to use. But, you know, if you just give it a go, and after a month's time, it's going to be better. But, you know, I'm just giving you an advice here. Don't get frustrated. Especially the snatch can make you very frustrated. And the difference between a snatch and a clean, as you can see here in the pictures to the left, where I'm sitting now, beneath the number one, the number there, she's holding a more narrow grip, and that's what we call clean and jerk grip. And the one below there, where she has a red leotard on her, that's called a snatch. And we don't snatch as much naturally, because we're not as strong out there in a wide grip. So that's the difference. Even so, sometimes if you sometimes can feel very tired, then it's just enough to just do a workout, just do clean and jerk, and then you will have a full workout. And even in my sessions here, I will do a lot of weightlifting sessions and explaining the angles and what to do and not to do, and what type of lifts we do, and what we can do to get even better and stronger and more explosive and powerful. So in that sense, you're going to relate to it more, and you're going to understand even more why it's such a powerful, you know, strengthening training for your body. I mean, you don't need much at all. You need bumper plates, you need barbells, and you need a lifting platform. And then all of you are thinking, oh, it's just so expensive. Maybe if you want to have your own gym, and I'm going to talk about that also in my future videos, how it is to actually build your own gym, and I've succeeded in doing it. So you can actually build your own lifting platform. It doesn't cost as near as much as a new one, you know, if you order it online. There's a misconception around this weightlifting that we all love, that are weightlifters. Actually, we just love it. We can't just, you know, stop. I mean, it's just our lifestyle, and it's still my lifestyle, even if I don't compete and train, you know, 9 sessions a week. You do not stop growing. I mean, that's just like, no, you don't. I mean, it's actually stimulating the growth hormone. And if it's got something with, you know, stop growing to do, that's because of the, you know, false technique and bad coaching. Nothing else. You know, you can injure your growth plates within the knees, for example. But I mean, that's got nothing to do with just weightlifting. It's got to do with bad coaching, bad form, and overloading, just like in everything else. weightlifting give you better posture, of course. I mean, if you look at just take a look at the pictures here to the side here. I mean, that doesn't look like a non-straight posture at all. I mean, weightlifting actually, straightens you out. You get a very good posture, because basically, if you look down below here, where she is lifting, coming down from a snatch and about to get up from it with a wide grip, she actually have a very straight back, and to actually hold it like that, technically, you have to actually squeeze your shoulder blades together quite a lot to actually stay there, which then means that, you're actually working on your posture more than ever. So, and if you don't have that posture, you're gonna drop it. So it's not as easy as it looks. She has a great technique. I've watched her so many times. Also, you do not destroy your knees. That's also the misconception. The thing is with a bad knee or whatnot, that's because you just start with I don't know if you've heard this combination, or I used to say conception, sorry, about not going all the way down. Don't do deep squats. That's not good for the knees. That's just like the opposite, actually. Research has found actually that you're engaging the whole quadricep muscle, which consists of 4 muscles within one muscle, your thigh, actually. So that's actually the strongest muscle we have on our body. And the opposite one, at the back of the thigh, it's called hamstring, and the hamstring is only like involves 2 muscles, which means like the ratio between those two is not always going to be 50-50, but you have to try to get as close to one another as you can. So basically that can also be a factor, but that's got nothing to do with weightlifting. If you weaken your hamstrings, you just have to work on that. It's got nothing to do with a clean and jerk or a snatch even. We all need to work on stuff to actually improve our lifts in whole. So I would just say, like, when it comes to like doing deep squats, you're actually engaging the legs, you're encouraging the legs to actually work all the way. If you just go halfway, you don't engage the whole quadricep muscle. And with that said, I also mean that a lot of people can maybe squat all the way down. That depends on other factors. That depends on that you're stiff, you can't sit all the way down, you need to stretch your Achilles a bit better than you've done before. Your shins, they get really tight when you try to sit down, and your heels comes up, and because of that you're leaning forwards, and then you start lifting with your back and your bums come up. It's just all these kind of factors. So that's why it's not, it's probably associated with weights that, you hurt your knees and your back. No, it's got to do with that you're not flexible enough to get down there. If you look at kids when they're small, they can actually sit. They sit like she does in the picture there. They sit and play like that. And as they grow older, they don't, because then comes the share. And therefore, we civilized people, or whatever we might call it, I'm not saying anything else than that, to be like, sounding like an idiot or anything. It's just that the share is to blame for us not being agile enough to actually get down in those angles, and that's actually beneficial to get down into those angles. Also, weightlifting also is a good thing to do with kids, because when we talk about kids, it's not only like, oh, your kids, we're overloading them with 500 kilos. No, we're not going to do that. We have technique bars that are much lighter, like feather light. We have very light weights that we put on for them to actually encourage them to continue. And for that, like I've mentioned before, they get more speed, agility, balance, timing. I mean, what else can you ask for? And they get fit, and they get like, very mindful what they want to lift and stuff, and actually want to start, have a go at competing, and they love it. Like I said, it's not as competitive in that sense, because you're not competing against everyone. You're just in different weight categories, which is quite hard too, I can say, when you come up to a certain level. It also, like, triggers of your, type, what do you say? What do you call it here? It's the fast fiber twitch muscles. You can see here in the pictures, there are actually like 3 of them, but I'm just going to talk about them too, like the difference, so you understand. One type is like, actually, if you're an endurance athlete or person who likes to run go for long runs, do marathons, half marathons, and whatnot, and go for charity runs for 3Ks or whatever it is. I do not like that. I hate running that far. I mean, everything that's over like today, 100 meter, I would die, because I'm so explosive. So basically, if you are an endurance athlete, then you're type 1. And it's going to be very hard for you to go back and actually become an explosive athlete that you should have done when you were a child. And after that, you can actually, up your lengths of your distances. When you're a kid, it's really beneficial to actually do the fast twitch fiber muscle, training, because you get fast, you get explosive. You see, when kids are playing, they're stopping, they're running, they're stopping, and then they go stop, run, and so on. And that's really like good for them, because they don't really know that they're training. I mean, they don't notice it because they move all the time to actually get developed. And that's like one of the evolution of our human development, that we actually get to move when we're kids, to actually strengthening and get fit and get better lung capacity. But in that sense, it does not help to just run and run and run. And I'm going to get into that type of lecture in the future as well, and you will hear on that as well. But basically, you get extremely explosive, which means a weightlifter normally just lasts for 30 meters if he was to compete in a sprint race. And that's because we are so extremely explosive. After that, we just die. We die off. I mean, we are trained to actually lift 1 repetition max, which means you're going to have to lift everything you have with, whatever, for just 1 goal. And that's really hard to master. I mean, you might just think, oh, it's just 1. It's just not just 1. A lot of people that doesn't do weightlifting, who is something between, an endurance athlete and a pure sprinter, as we speak then, or, short distance person who doesn't like to run far, as I am. I just came. What was I saying now? I was just all totally gone now. I just came up. Oh, I just lost the track. They are not fit enough to actually recruit themselves and actually engage all the muscles all in one go. Because that cannot, when you do that, you're actually balancing, on the boundary for injuries, actually. So therefore you need to be extremely fit when you do this. You do not stop growing. Okay, go to next slide. We'll see here. Technique and form. Of course, technique and form, shape and the way you're setting yourself up in, when you're going to do a lift. I mean, that just speaks for itself. It's really important. Really, really important. And I also say it takes skills to become a great weightlifting coach as well. And no one has, you have to have the eye for it as well, which, it goes very quick. And we have to correct an athlete doing a snatch, for an example. That goes very quick. I mean, from the public side, when you just look at a weight lift, you just go, oh, that's good. I mean, he's, that person or she's lifting very heavy. She's so strong. There can be nothing wrong with that lift. Yes, there's a lot of components you can see, but for that, you have to train your eye to actually be able to detect them. And it's not only to actually say, okay, you just did that and this and that wrong. Everybody can do that, but what are you going to do to fix that, technique faulty, but it's also like when you go up to a very high level performance, when you go in and compete, you might have some faults in your technique, but that is just slightly, and it's slightly allowing us to have that because we're going on 1 repetition max. But everything behind that takes a lot of hours of work. Technique lifts, don't get up, scaling up on your weights too fast, because you're going to get there anyway. You have to have patience. You have to have a lot of lifts behind you. I mean, so many lifts to actually get that technique, like an automatic thing going in your spine. They wake you in the middle of the night, go do a snatch. Yeah, I will do a snatch. I exactly know how to set myself up and so on. And beginners in particularly needs to be supervised, by a trainer or a coach very like closely. I mean, this is not, a thing talk or whatever. I mean, just say it's just not something you just go on loosely and doing. I mean, I'm going to try that. I'm just going to crack a weight. No, you're not. I mean, if you're thinking like that, you shouldn't be doing it even. You know, it's a really complex sport to do, even if it looks easy. Let's see, here, sets and reps. So when we talk about reps and sets, I don't know, that came out wrong. Sets can be done in several. Quite a lot of sets is you need to be doing. That's what it takes, because you can't just only do 2 sets or something. Obviously, 2 repetition max of 2 or 1. That's not going to give you anything. You have to build your fitness up as well. So, but when it comes to reps, we just do 3 of a maximum reps in a set, and that's because we have to be explosive, and we have to set ourselves up for a good lift with form and shape each time we actually go in to do a lift. So therefore we don't do more than 3. But on the other hand, we can add, maybe we do 3 times 3, and then we do another set of 3 on a higher weight, and then from there we do 2s. We might do 3 times 2 reps, and then you do a 2, and then you do 3, maybe 3 singles on 90% and up to 100%. Everything's got to do with daily shaping weightlifting. So if you have the day that you're gonna feel, wow, you didn't plan for it to happen, just go up and do it. You have to teach the brain to actually lift those heavy weights as well. So therefore it's really important. Go after your initiation. Like, you can have a frame to work after, of course, we all do, because it has to be set up and planned. But if you have a day where you feel extremely good, then you can actually go for it. If you have a day according to the program, sometimes like you feels a bit heavy, you could just drop the weights. You just have to accept it. That day is not your day. Next day is going to be better, or maybe next week. No one really knows that. Only your body can tell you that. So that's how we go about it. A normal weightlifting session that I used to do maybe took 3 hours to do. And that's included with all the 4 lifts that we do. We do front squat, or we do back squat. We do pulls, a snatch pull, or clean pulls. With that entails a lot of sets, not so many reps. And then we do clean and jerk. And then there's variations within that category to actually break them down and do like part of that skill. And also, of course, we do snatches. So everything also depends on, like, when do you start? What is it that you want to achieve? You want to be stronger in your legs because you just need that for your weightlifting. Then you start with squats. If you want to improve your technique, then you probably should start, aim for, doing the snatches first. So you just have to be quite logical about this. Weightlifting is also very great because it's like based on percentages. So what's my 60% might not be like a big person's, a 60%. She might take more for 60% than I do, but we can all still go in the same program, but it's still individualized based on, what we actually do for 1 repetition max. And then I will come to pulse here. It should be very quickly, dropping down after your lift, because as you probably will notice if you do try this sport out, that when you do a clean and jerk and you do 3 of them, you're going to be quite puffed. Then you're going to sit down for a while, not that long. Then your pulse should actually drop down very quick. And when the pulse is done, then you just go up and lift again. So that's how it works. That's how we work on a fitness. So we just don't sit in long periods, because basically this is what it is. When you lift in normal competitions, I'm not talking about, maybe you get a bit of longer time in between when I think you do when you're going to set a world record, but only that. So if you would only lifter that actually lifts and everybody else has finished their lifts, you are the last one out for your lifts. You're going to do 3 lifts in a row. That means that you only had 2 minutes in between those lifts to actually recover. That's why it's so important to go after that, what I wrote under the pulse. So let's go. Okay, well, we are not here. Not there, we're here. Okay, I'm just going to go into another concept here. CrossFit, like everybody else seems to be doing nowadays, and commenting on CrossFit and bad shaping and form. But I can also I would like to state here what weightlifters do not like about CrossFit. And there's probably more reasons that I've, stated here, but here's just some of them. I would just say CrossFit is not weightlifting. It's not even near it. It's just something they just made up and, you know, made it their own weightlifting style. It should not be associated with weightlifting whatsoever. It's got nothing to do with what we do. We work a lot on, you know, explosiveness. We don't do endurance because, you know, in that sense, we're not going to be fit enough to actually lift that heavy. Also, we lift with correct technique, and if we don't, we get told by our coaches that that's not correct. You have to drop your weight, or you have to do it again, or whatnot. You know, they will correct you and tell you what to do all the time. You should have a coach just sitting on the bench and just being on you all the time. That's what it is, and that's not what CrossFit is about. It's just more like an aerobic session that everybody goes through. You cannot possibly go through a whole group with weightlifters as we speak, then doing the correct form in snatches or in clean and jerk, whatever it is. I've seen it. I just want to cry, and I just want to close my eyes when I see CrossFit trainings. And I've been into CrossFit gyms well, and I've been to CrossFit gyms while I was training myself for nationals. They have no sort of culture fostering in they're not even near, you know, weightlifting culture. Weightlifting culture is about respecting one another. You don't go in front or not behind a lifter when they lift. When they're going to go heavy, it's going to be quiet. We don't play a lot of loud music because we have to actually be able to focus to 100% to focus on a point. And if you just go in front of me and you play disco, whatever it is that you do, you do not respect us. So that's just also one of the aspects. CrossFit or CrossFitters have not been fostered in how to become a weightlifter. That's just not something you do. It's just something you become or you are. Okay. And that goes into that, you know, they do not understand the culture of weightlifting. Absolutely not. And common saying to me often, I've been told, yeah, you're going to be such much better lifter when you do more CrossFit. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because, you know, I can stand up for myself and I know what I'm doing. And I'm quite opinionated in that sense. But I've been doing sports and coaching. I've been doing sports since I was 4, competing in it. Maybe not as a 4-year-old, but you get my drift. I started coaching as a 15-year-old. So from that experience that you gather as a person, you know, as a coach, and you allow yourself to grow, that cannot be replaced from a CrossFitter that just been doing it for what, 4 weeks or hardly that. I mean, CrossFit is always, it's about a concept. Everybody comes together and you throw it, all the types of training concepts in one go and pretend that you should be able to actually excel and become great in all those disciplines. That's not going to happen. If you want to become a good weightlifter, that's what you should be doing. End of story. No endurance in that sense. But I can still tell you that weightlifting makes you like tired when you actually do the training. Some that I've started training once in a while, they just don't believe that it's going to be that hard, but it kind of is. And it's also because, depends on what kind of trainer and coach you have, how dedicated they are. But you have to be very dedicated and very mentally strong to do weightlifting because, you know, despite of all, I mean, it's, you know, in spite of all, you know, you have to lift weights. That's more than your body weight. So you have to be extremely fit. And CrossFit, they don't have knowledge about how to carry out a professional weightlifting program. No, obviously not. I mean, you do not do clean and jerks like they do it. You do not do snatches the way they do it. Oh my God, no. You do not compete in weightlifting based on how many reps you do in 1 minute. I mean, of course, we all will lose our shape, and you would never ever see any record, you know, sitting in, you know, in weightlifting. It's 2 different categories, and going thinking that even, you know, gymnasts, they're just taking a lot of their skills as well. Like, for example, how do you go on a handstand? I mean, I've been a gymnast and I'm also an artistic gymnastic coach. I know that their shape of handstand is just totally out of the window. I mean, they should not be able to walk like that. I mean, first, they're bad shape. They arch their back and they don't keep the legs together. They don't stay tight all through the body when they do it. And at least, you know, they don't even, you know, they don't center their hands when they plant them and to go to handstand, you know, forwards. They just angle them outwards, which is setting up for a lot of injuries and strains on your elbows and shoulders for that matter. So like basically it goes to this basic concept, you know, if you start with A wrong, then B is going to be a little bit more wrong, and then on and on, and you're going to crash. I mean, it's just like it's pretty much rational and logic, but for many it's not. I mean, I don't think it's cool to see someone bumping the, you know, weights down and then just, you know, from that bump actually try to clean it with bent arms and bad form and whatnot. And even like the elbows are almost cracking when they're doing their overhead jerks. So no. I'm sorry to say it. No, CrossFit is failing in my eyes. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's not over there. Let's see. We are not here. We were. How could that come up there? Sorry. Next one. How did that come there? Sorry. So here I'm just going to flick through it here. I don't understand what that came up for. So we just hear the weightlifting is not more dangerous than other sports. I mean, weightlifting tends to have got this bad reputation around it. And I don't really understand why. That just basically, yes, you can destroy a knee. You can destroy a lot of things in your body, joints and whatnot, and muscular tendons and articulations and rotator cuffs and so on. But that's only because of bad technique. It's faulty technique. And I mean, that we've seen in a lot of other sports. I mean, when they're overdoing it, I mean, to become a good weightlifter at doing snatches, you can not only stand and do snatches, because obviously there's something that you want to improve. Then you just have to get a bit of a resistance and actually make it a bit harder or make it a bit different, because you have to shock the body and the muscles into actually working. Because if you were doing the same program all the time for 2 years or 1 year or whatnot, and wondering why am I not getting better, that's because you haven't shocked the body. You can even, you know, go down and do very light weights and do very quick lifts, and you can still be puffed and tired because your muscles are shocked and they're not used to that type of training, for an example. And not that I'm saying that weightlifting shouldn't be, you know, quick anyway, because it has to, but you know, it's just a bit of a variation in the training. Like we need periodization and, you know, programming just as much as anyone else needs. So with that said, it's just bad technique. I can actually I can compare it to athletics, for an example. I'm an athletic coach as well, and I've seen these examples for a lot of times, like through the years. Like if someone is good at high jump, then they just jump 100 jumps, or probably even more, just to get better. I mean, if you jump high, you know, and you don't get further, something is wrong. So obviously you need to build something up. And then we're just talking about, yeah, what would be most logical. I mean, high jump is actually jumping, but that means then that you have to add some more plyometric training to it. I mean, it's not rocket science. That's what it is. For an example, and you should not be jumping that many jumps, because it's a solid, hard ground that actually take off from it just with one leg, and it puts a lot of strain and stress on the knees. Okay. And that's not what weightlifting does, because weightlifting actually builds up our muscles and body and you know, ligaments and whatnot, because it is a type of strength training, yes. But you do that if you have the right kind of technique and right kind of engaged coaching. Not with coaches who's just like, you know, wants to throw wrestles and you know, big weights and whatnot. I mean, that's just not what it is about. First, I mean, trust me, you're gonna get to a lot of kilos and a lot of weights to actually lift when you actually follow the right path. Everything has its, you know, natural way that you have to go through. There's no shortcuts. Anyway, with that said, we go on to the next one. Weightlifting does not give you big, bulky muscles and clumsy muscles. And that's what I was talking about before at the start. Weightlifting gives you speed, it gives you agility, and it gives you great timing and balance and everything else, like in strength, of course. So in that way, it actually like age, when it comes to like maybe if you do a sport that's quite dynamic, you move in different directions, or you're running, for an example, you do sprinting. That's why it's such a good age to actually do that kind of strength training. But unfortunately, I've been into athletic gyms as well. I've seen coaches not being able to teach or coach, you know, often athletes don't do proper snatches or proper, you know, they often tend to do cleans with straps, and they don't know how to actually release them, and from that you can actually break your wrist. You have to be very careful, and what type of bars they're using. They have to be bearings in them, like they have to actually spin, because otherwise you will have a lot of problems with your wrists and so on. So it's quite important to actually set yourself up for a very good quality equipment as well. And you're going thinking, oh, it's too expensive. Yeah, but you know, there is training equipment for weightlifting that is very good as well, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune either. So with that said, if you just compare it to maybe a powerlifter, you tend to get a bit more squared and, you know, not as, you know, fast. You want to be fast. You want to be able to utilize your explosive muscles, and you can't do that if you're not explosive. A deadlift is not very explosive. It's just, I'm not saying it's just it's pure strength, and yes, that's great that they can do that. But at the end of the day, they are not as explosive as the weightlifter. Weightlifting is a way more complicated sport to master. And as I say here, weightlifting is rhythm, velocity, and momentum. Momentum is something that aerobic players could have a lot of, you know, benefits from, of course, because they do a lot of momentum when they actually collide into one another. So that would be a great complement when they do their strength training. But you know, today still it's just this obsession with, like, you know, benching a lot, deadlifting a lot, because I think weightlifting, everybody doesn't really know what weightlifting is. If I go ask people on the street what's weightlifting, they think it's a deadlift, or they think it's a bench press, when it's not. So it's different sports. But I usually say weightlifting is an Olympic sport that's been there for ages. And the ancient Greeks used to actually do it as well. They used to have it at circuses in the past, and they used to sort of be a type of a show or so. But you know, humans been lifting weights for you know, for ages and ages and back in time, for as long as we can remember, and that just to strengthen it up. So to me, it sounds actually ridiculous saying that weightlifting is not good for you, because it's actually a type of strength training that actually builds your body up. How can you just go and stand and say that it's a bad training? No. It's a very good training. If you have any questions, please drop them down below in the comment field. I will try to answer them as quick as possible. I will also post on my community page. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course. I hope you enjoyed this. This is quite a long one, so you can pause it in between. But I will definitely post more visual videos as well. So thanks a lot for